Hello, my name is Michael Path, and I'm the Manager of Grants Administration at the Community Foundation of Louisville. I'm recording this video in March of 2022 as we're about to roll out a new feature for our fund holders. This feature is specifically for funds at the Foundation that have 2 or more authorized signers who must approve any grants from the fund. In the past, our grants team has had to reach out directly through phone or email in order to get the second or third approval to process those grants. We hope this feature will provide you with a quick and easy way to log in and authorize those grants yourself. This new feature allows fund holders to get alerted when a new grant recommendation is submitted that requires authorization, log in to the fund and review the grant, and then authorize or deny that grant so that it can be processed by a grants team or canceled. Today, I'm going to go over submitting a grant as an authorized signer, logging in and reviewing a grant that requires authorization, and then authorizing or denying that grant in the system. A couple points of note about automated emails. Typically, when a fund holder submits a grant, they will receive a confirmation email. This is still true. The signer who submits the grant will receive a confirmation email that provides a summary of the grant. What's new is that now all the other signers on the fund will also receive an email that notifies them that a grant has been submitted and directs them to log in and authorize that recently submitted grant. Further, a reminder email will be sent to the authorized signers on the fund that indicates authorization is still required if necessary after a few days. So let's get into it. First, I'm going to submit a grant that will require authorization. I'm using 2 dummy accounts for this presentation, Mary Donor and Joe Donor. We can just assume that these 2 fund holders are either married or co-own a business that has a fund and have elected for both fund holders to be required to authorize any grants that are processed from this fund. So let's assume that Joe Donor submits a new grant that will require authorization from Mary Donor. The first thing I'm going to do, of course, is to navigate to the login page and log in as Joe Donor. Once I log in, this will take me to the donor dashboard, of course, that summarizes the fund. For this demonstration, our fund is called the CFL Test Fund. I have close to $4,000 available for grant making. And to recommend a new grant, I'm going to click on Recommend a Grant on the left-hand menu. This process is largely the same as any fund that does not require multiple signers and one that you are likely familiar with. I'm going to send a grant to the Community Foundation of Louisville. This is just a test organization for the purposes of demonstration. I'm going to select New Grant. I'm going to submit the grant for $100. And I'm not going to change anything else, as we're really just testing authorization. I'm going to agree and submit. You'll note that I'm in our test environment, and so there isn't a checkbox to decline tangible benefits that you will see in our production environment. Now, I can navigate back to the donor dashboard. Here, I will see that the grant I just submitted is now in recent grant history under Grants Pending Authorization. Any grants that are currently pending authorization that you've recently submitted will be listed in this section of the donor dashboard. However, I can also go to my grant history and the grant that I submitted will be listed in my grant history as well. If I click on Authorized under my authorization status, I can see that I have authorized the grant. when I submitted it as Joe donor, but the other signer on this fund, Mary donor, has not authorized the grant. Until Mary donor authorizes the grant will remain in the pending authorization box. Mary donor at this point will have received an email notifying her of a $100 grant to the Community Foundation of Louisville. From the CFL Test Fund, and that grant recommendation requires her authorization. So let's log in with Mary Donor's account and go through the process of authorizing that grant. I'm going to log in, of course, as if I were a Mary donor. When I first log in, I'm directed to the donor dashboard once again. Grants that require my authorization will be listed in grant history below. Here I can see the summary of the grant, the grantee, the amount, and the purpose. I can also go ahead and authorize or deny the grant from this screen. If I click on the hyperlink, it'll show that I've not given my authorization, and I can click either authorize or deny here from this screen. If I would like a little bit more information, I can go to grant history, where the grant will also be displayed. And if I click on authorize or deny here, I can see who on the fund can authorize this grant. It is Joe and Mary. And again, I can authorize or deny that grant from grant history as well. I'm going to go back to the donor dashboard where I want to authorize the grant. And I'm going to go ahead and click and authorize this grant. You'll note that once I've authorized the grant, it is removed from the grants pending authorization box because it has been authorized and no longer requires authorization to be processed. My status has changed from authorize/deny to authorized. And if I click on it, I can see that both Joe and Mary now have authorized this grant, and it will be processed by our grants team. It's that simple. Once the grant has required a number of authorized signers that have authorized the grant will be processed. A point of note, grants that require authorization have 10 days to receive all required authorizations before the grant is automatically canceled. So we recommend that when you receive that notification and the reminder to authorize grants in the system, please log in and do so. Our grants team will be making an effort to reach out should we see that a pending grant is nearing that deadline. If you have any questions about grants authorization or grants in general, please reach out to us at grants@cflouisville.org. We thank you for partnering with us for your philanthropy, and we hope that this new feature will make processing of grants with multiple signers far more efficient and timely. Thank you.